So, lesson number one that I learned was always go on the call in order to diagnose a problem or a constraint. So, a lot of people, what they do is they usually go on the call with the mindset that they have to use some sort of salesy tactic or technique, and be like a car salesman from 1990s, use some sort of magical formula in order to suddenly persuade the client in order to give you this money. But honestly, that is not the case, because that is what a lot of people do, and what you need to do is be different from rest of the crowd. And the best way you can do that is try to understand who you are talking to, what are their problems, and can you even solve them. One of the best things that I did in my initial days was whenever I used to get on a call with somebody and I realized that, hey, I cannot actually help them out, I used to point them in the right direction. And that used to sometimes even be my competitors. This means that if I'm not equipped to help out a specific individual because of XYZ reasons, then in their best interest, what they must do is they must go for this another alternative that might benefit them. And I and my sales team a lot of times really does that. And you know what, this really helps us out in the long term. Why? Because those individuals come back to us in the future and they tell us that, hey, everyone on planet earth tried to sell us, but you really understood our challenges, you really understood our problem, and rather than selling us, you gave us another solution, and now I really want to learn from you. And this is one of the reasons why I have been able to run advertisement consistently till date, because people believe in us, people believe in our vision, and when we do things which are right for them, they usually try to reciprocate and come back in the future. So that's one tip that you can definitely try. Now, a great way in order to actually sell on the call, which brings me to my lesson number two, is try to build contrast between the situation of the prospect that is currently and the situation that they want to be in. So, if you must realize that if you're trying to sell any kind of advice or service, a lot of people trying to book a call with you must be trying to solve a problem, right? Or they must be trying to actually go from the state that they are currently in and the state that they desire to actually go in. So some people might be suffering from health issues, some people might be suffering from relationship issues, some people might be suffering from money issues, or maybe they want to grow their business or careers, right? So everybody, no matter how successful or poor they are actually stuck in a particular situation that they are not happy with. Otherwise, why would they actually try to book a call with you, right? And they want to go to this desired state, and the best thing that you can do is try to actually paint the picture that this is where you are at, this is where you want to go, and the simplest question that you can ask them after this is, what's stopping you from actually getting to this desired situation? And guess what? People will automatically reveal to you what exactly is holding them back, which makes it super easy for you to actually point them in the right direction and follow lesson number one, which I told you successfully. Like, just help them out, right? Focus on solving their problem. Third tip that I want to tell you about, and this is something that unfortunately you can't just learn by watching videos. This is something that you really need to practice, and something that you really need a coach to really monitor you. And this lesson, which took me a lot of time to learn, is voice modulation and your tonality. This means, how do you present yourself on the call when you're speaking to a client, right? Let's say, what a lot of people do is they would download some sort of sales script from the internet. Sometimes they'll find our sales script, and then they would tell me, Rohan, I'm saying the exact same words that are written in the script, right? But it's not working. I'm not sure what's really going on, right? And whenever I would like go on and listen to their call recording, usually, let's say they're talking to a client, right? And they'd ask them like, oh, so how much profit did you make in the last 30 days? Oh, just this much. Okay. So, like, what you can like notice is that, like, they're asking such a painful question to a prospect, which might lead to, various kind of discoveries, right? How they are feeling, it might be affecting them, how it might be putting them in a tough position. But you might have a smirk on your face, or you might not have like, that pain that you can actually show to somebody, right? So an alternative that you can do over here is, rather than like just asking them the straight question, just like try to pause. So, first name, in the last 30 days, like, you've made 30,000 rupees in profit. How does that make you feel specifically? Right? So when you try to actually change that, or one another mistake that a lot of people do is they would just go with like the robotic tonality, which would be like, so in the last 30 days, how much profit have you made? You know, it becomes really, really difficult for the prospect to really, really understand and like really connect with you. That is why the right kind of tonality and modulation is really, really important. So this is something that I would highly recommend that you practice it. One good habit that you can try is think about whenever you're talking to a friend or a family member, right? Just notice how subtly your voice changes when you hear something sad. Write that down. And then notice when you hear something happy, how does your voice sound then, right? When you're excited, it's different, right? And you can just kind of notice how I'm doing it right now in this video, as like I'm talking about a different kind of tonality. Now this is very difficult to explain, but that is why you have to practice it a lot. Notice how you sound like when you're happy, notice when you sound like when you're sad, and try to use them right on the sales call. Right, let's say a prospect tells you some sort of sad situation, right? What you can try doing is remember the time when you felt sad yourself last and how your tonality became. Try to use that again. Or maybe sometimes the prospect might tell you that, hey, my desired situation is to make like 5 lakhs a month or whatever, right? They're telling you something that motivates them, so that's when you can also get excited. You can match the energy of the prospect, and this would allow you to really form that meaningful connection and give them the solution that they really, really desire. The next tip that I would like to give to you is use preemptive strike to address objections. So, what exactly does this mean? Well, think about this. Most of the times you would know, or if you don't already know, go check out my other videos on my YouTube channel where I explain objection handling in detail. But some of the top objections that a person might give you would be, hey, I don't have the funds, or hey, I need to talk to my partner, or hey, I need to actually try out this other solution, and then check out how that works and then get back to you. Well, what if you could just ask those questions in advance rather than pitching your entire solution and then finding out that, oh, this is the objection now, right? So one good hack that you can try out is, let's say when you're doing sales call, or whenever you're doing a consultation call, and when you're discussing about the various kind of challenges of the prospect, and they tell you, let's say something like, I just have 30,000 rupees a month left, right, in savings out of my business. Well, one good question that you could ask them is, how long have you been saving this money for? How long have you been able to save this 30K for every single month consistently? Right? Because this would then give you an idea how much savings that they have approximately in their bank account, so that they can't give you a money objection later. Or if you, let's say, you're doing a call and you hear like a child crying in the background, right? You could probably, or let's say the prospect keeps telling you, we really need to think about it. We have been thinking about, losing weight for a long time. So something like that. Those are indicators that the prospect might have a partner, right? A spouse that they might have to ask the thing about before they actually make the decision to invest in whatever you're offering. So that is when you could probably ask, let's say you hear like a baby crying in the background, you could definitely go out and ask that, hey, is that your child? Oh, that looks so cute. Let's say you're doing a video call, and then you could ask like, so what does your husband think about you trying to actually solve this problem of weight loss, right? Probably you can ask that. Or what does your wife think about you trying to solve this problem of you growing your business, right? So something like that you can definitely ask, and this will try to help you eliminate objections which might appear later. You can also try the feel, felt, and found technique. So, what exactly does this mean? Well, let's say you're trying to actually explain a situation to the prospect. What you can do is, before you get on the call, you can prepare some sort of stories or some sort of case studies about other clients who were once stuck in their situation. Or what you can do is you can also come up with some relevant examples which your prospect might be able to relate with, so that the explanation of your point becomes easier. For example, one of the easiest ways for me to explain to you why charging high ticket is a good idea is to show you a live demonstration of what happened with Tata Nano. Since they call themselves as the cheapest car, right? Indian mentality, we don't like to associate our status with cheap, right? We don't want to be called poor, and that is why nobody bought that car, and that car kind of like failed, right? So people like to buy expensive things, or if they can't afford it, at least like to have the idea as if they are getting a highly valued thing, so that they could show off and tell their friends and family. That's how the Indian culture is, and it might be offensive to somebody, but that's how a lot of us work, and I'm one of them. So that is why you should understand it and play accordingly whenever you're doing calls, right? So by using this example, I can like explain to people, okay, since Tata Nano failed, right? Now it makes sense that you should also not try to make the same mistake and charge premium. So you can also have such case studies and examples ready when going on a call and explaining to people. Now, the last tip that I want to give to is, this one is only for beginners, right? Now, this means if you are like, let's say, not having enough case studies, or maybe you're trying to actually, build up your initial business and try to actually get your initial clients. What you can try doing is, you can do the puppy close. Okay, so what exactly does this mean? Well, think about this, right? A lot of times, if let's say one of your friends come to you and they're like, hey, here's this cute puppy, right? Can you take care of it for like 3-4 days? Right? And you take care of the puppy, and when you're staying with it for 3-4 days, you kind of get attached to it, right? You're like, man, I love this puppy. I want to like, have him or her with me for the rest of my life. I don't want to give it away. So similarly, what you can consider doing is, if you're a beginner and you're like facing a lot of resistance in order to get clients successfully, you can consider giving some people some free trial, or maybe you can consider, getting them started at a lower ticket price or something like that. In order to develop your initial case studies, you can demonstrate to them that despite other agencies or other people out there, you are the one who can work the hardest. You can demonstrate to them your work ethic, you can impress them, and that is how the puppy charm effect would actually come, and they'd be like, okay, you know what, I want to actually keep this person with me, and then eventually the puppy will become a wolf dog, and then you'll be able to rule the kingdom with all those case studies, right? At least that's what I did.